Here's the deal when it comes to microdosing testosterone. It's simple. Here it is. Stay tuned. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind, to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, the floor is all yours. We have a lot of questions to get to, so we're going to dive right into them. But before we do that, again, live right now on the channel, all new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. Kind of an interesting episode because we covered the Chicago Pro, but then also there was teen nationals, collegiate nationals, masters nationals. Chris Aceto, his son, competed this past weekend, so we got a full report on him. Very interesting story, great story, a great physique. So you get to hear all about that. Again, Heavy Muscle Radio right now on the channel, as well as yesterday's episode of the After Hours podcast. Of course, a lot that the boys delved in on. We're going to go over to the questions. The first two questions on the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, your opinion, this might be a bit of a long one, your opinion on the old school peak week diet, Monday, Tuesday, fats and proteins and no carbs. Wednesday, Thursday, carbing up. Friday, drying out and no carbs, fats and protein only. Saturday, a show day, fats and protein only.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. I mean, it's close to my diet, but then I don't know where the Friday Saturday comes in. I always look I like to deplete beginning of the week if the person is not like has a crazy metabolism. Because if you have a crazy metabolism and sometimes you just can't do zero carb with them because they disappear. Assuming they have a normal metabolism, I can go like a couple of days in the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, or even Sunday, Monday, Tuesday on low carbs, or even no carbs, protein, fat. Then carb up, maybe half of Wednesday, or sometimes I'll even go Wednesday, no carbs, and I'll go full carbs on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. What I find is once you add the carbs in, it's silly to take them out because it supercharges the person's metabolism. Because why are we putting carbs in? Because we're trying to force glucose into the muscle cells to get stored as glycogen, which then pulls water with it inside the muscle and makes the muscle fuller. If we give carbs on Wednesday and Thursday, as this person's suggesting, we carb the person up, and then Friday we cut it out, the carbs, and we cut the carbs out on Saturday, the person's metabolism is in overdrive, and they're going to start burning through the stored glycogen, and the muscles are going to start shrinking down. Your body doesn't hold on to that glycogen, especially if you're posing during the day, Friday, and then obviously Saturday on the stage. You're going to deplete all that glycogen out. So it's not a good idea to stop the carbs once you've added them in. Doesn't mean you have to go through the roof on the amount of carbs you're doing, but you need to still be consistent. So if I put carbs in on Wednesday, Thursday, I got to continue on Friday. It doesn't mean I have to be higher on Friday than on Thursday, but I have to continue carbohydrate intake, and I keep fat in there too, because I don't want the body to start using the carbs that I'm trying to put into the muscle as fuel. I'd rather the body use some of the fat I'm giving them as fuel. And once again, you don't want to lower protein either, because then your body's, potentially can lose some muscle or it can deflate a little bit. So you don't want to reduce calories as you're leading up into the show. You want to increase them and then kind of stabilize it those last couple of days so that the person fills out nicely. As soon as you take away something and try to replace it, a lot of times the person can go flat. So I'm not really in favor of that depletion that last 2 days. I like the early depletion in the week. I like the fill up, but I think you should continue to keep the carbs in there for those last couple of days.
Second question, again, these first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Thoughts on microdosing TRT 3 times a week rather than just one shot?
All right, here's the deal on micro. We get so many questions on this. It's really weird how people are so obsessed with microdosing. And I really believe, I think because people, they won't admit it, but I think they like taking shots. They like injecting stuff. And if they can inject more frequently during the week, I think they get excited about that. That's the real reason I think people do it. Now, I am a believer if you're doing TRT to at least split it into 2 doses, because I think you can get some peaks and some valleys. So like if you're doing a shot on Monday, you might want to do another one on Friday or Tuesday and Saturday. I do Tuesday and Saturday. I don't know why I do it. I just happen to arbitrarily do Tuesday and Saturdays. And I think that works well. I don't think a third shot is going to give you that much better of a dispersal. Now, if you're doing 1,000 milligrams a week, okay, we usually do it every other day, because then you get a better distribution because it's a lot you're taking. So you don't want to take huge amounts like twice a week. You spread it out more. But when you're only taking 100 or 200 milligrams a week, 2 shots a week should be more than adequate. And I'm telling you, you're not going to notice any difference if you microdose. If you take, some people take it every day. So they take the 200 milligrams, they divide it by 7, they take about 30 so milligrams every single day, and they microdose. That's microdose because they're doing small amounts every day. Is it going to hurt you? No, but you got to take a shot every day. Who the heck wants to do that? You might forget. You start becoming, it starts being a chore almost. And people don't like to do chores. So I find that 2 times a week gives you the same results, and it's unnecessary because it is a long-acting compound. It's not like you're taking test suspension every day. You're taking a long-acting testosterone twice a week. That's more than enough.
Let's take questions from our Facebook and Instagram page. If you're not already following us on Facebook, just go into the search bar, type in RX Muscle, on Instagram, official_RX Muscle. We start with a fiberlyze related question. It is from Syed Shah. Can I take protein powder and vitamins and other oral supplements with fiberlyze, or will it mess with the absorption?
I like to separate my vitamins and stuff like that from the fiberlyze shake. Just by convention. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. It's really usually we worry about the fats being potentially bound up by the fiber. So I wouldn't take like Omega-lyze with it, because it's an essential fatty acid. But I don't really think it matters, to be honest with you. I don't really think it's going to bind up those things like it binds bile salts. But if you want to play, like I said, I usually time what I do is I do my vitamins with my first meal of the day, and then the second dose I do with like dinner, okay, and my fiber I'll do in the middle of the day sometime, like anywhere from noon to 2 o'clock, my first dose in between meals, and then I do a dose before bed. So I'm not taking any vitamins at that time, and it seems to work fine. But I've been on, we go to trips like the Olympia and the Arnold, and I'm like, we're hardly in the room. I go in the room, and I'm like, oh man, I got to take I take my vitamins, I take my fiberlyze, and I go to sleep. I'm sure I'm absorbing about 99% of it, But like I said, if I have the ability to spread it out, I'll spread it out. It's funny because we've been getting a lot of good traction on the fiberlyze, and I want to thank Fuad and his podcast. Those guys have been really, promoting the fiberlyze usage. We even use some of their clips in our Species Instagram, and it's funny because Fuad always told me, fiber bothered his stomach, and I sent him a tub of it, and I told him how to take it. I said, you got to start with a half a dose once a day, and then for a week and build up, because you got to strengthen your colon. And he did it. And now he loves it. Now he's a disciple. So the fiberlyze has been going really, really well. And I appreciate everyone spreading the word and telling each other, because really all bodybuilders and anyone who competes, who's eating, 5-6 times a day, should be on a fiber supplement. We make the best one. It's the most potent. It's got the highest swell rate, psyllium in it. And once people use it, they realize how good it is. And it's, it's really healthy for you. In addition to helping move all that waste through your body, keep your abs flat on stage so you can hit those vacuum poses. There's nothing worse than getting up on stage and you couldn't go to the bathroom, before you got on stage that morning or that night. And Fiber just takes that guesswork out of it. It makes it easy. Everyone goes regularly on the stuff, and it's great. And I wanted to also thank people because the first two questions were from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's an app that I have. You can download it from your iTunes store or your Android store. It's at $29 a month. You get access to all my videos, all my writings in one place. We put up a workout every single week. I answer everyone's questions on the app in an open forum so everyone sees everyone's questions and everyone's answers. I do a Q&A video specifically for the app members every single week. So you get an extra almost Ask Dave every single week out of that. And the great thing is that all my routines are there. So off-season, pre-contest diets, drug cycles, anything you can think of is in that app. And it's a great value, like I said, to have me as your coach in your back pocket for $29 a month. We have a lot of members on there. I just want to thank everyone for supporting that app. And it makes me really want to put more content up every single day because of the participation. So thank you.
Thoughts on dosing GH Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same weekly total, any benefits?
Dorian said that he liked doing that back in the day. He used to take I think 4 IUs a day. And then he said he went to 8, I think 3 times a week. So he would take 8 IUs. Excuse me. He took 8 IUs 3 times a week, and he said he seemed to like it better. I'm going to tell you why I think he liked it better. Because when you take GH every day, it makes you more insulin resistant, and meaning that the insulin can't work as well because you have so much GH in your system. Whereas if you take it 3 times a week, on the off days, you don't really have it there as much. So your insulin works better in your body. But there's a workaround with that. The problem is if you're taking 8 IUs or 10 IUs 3 times a week, you're probably not getting maximum IGF-1 out. I mean, you probably are getting maximum output, but you're probably wasting a lot of the GH because your body can only produce so much IGF-1 in response to a GH injection. So I think what happens is a lot of people don't get the benefits of taking it daily. If you take it daily, you get IGF-1 release every single day. You're not getting more IGF-1 because you're taking 10 IUs, is what I'm saying, because it's limited by how much you can produce. Probably 4 to 5 IUs gives you maximum IGF-1 output. So if you can take it every day, you're going to get a better growth response. The problem is that you might become more insulin resistant. So nowadays, unlike in Dorian's day or my day back then, we didn't really know about this. We kind of figured it out just by accident. But if you are running high fasting blood sugars in the morning because you are becoming insulin resistant, we can overcome that by taking a long-acting insulin. And if you take the long-acting insulin and you get those fasting blood sugars down to under 90 normal, you're going to grow better. And so that's the solution. That's the workaround solution. So you are better off taking GH every day. Okay. You just have to monitor your fasting blood sugars with a blood sugar monitor you can pick up from Walmart for $9. And if you're running over 90 in the morning routinely, then you should be on a long-acting insulin. And I've talked about those protocols in other questions. So that's the answer to the question. Every day is better than taking it a few times a week, but you have to understand that you could become insulin resistant.
Let me find another one. What will cause more water retention, EQ or DECA?
If you're dieting on a low-carb diet, you're going to get no water retention on either one of them. So water retention is really a factor of carbohydrate intake, because I can get fluid retention on no anabolics just from eating a lot of carbs. I know a lot of guys that can do that. Now, do anabolics make you a little bit more fluid retentive or sensitive to that? Yeah, usually it's due to high estrogen, believe it or not, that's doing that. DECA and equipoise are pretty comparable in terms of their effects and strength, as far as my experience goes, working with both of them and using both of them. And myself, I don't feel one gave better than the other. I think they both make you hungry. They both give you a really good pump. They raise red blood cell count approximately similarly. Some people don't like DECA only because they have erection issues on it, because it can raise prolactin. But DECA has the added benefit of giving you a very good anti-inflammatory effect in your body. So your joints feel really good on it. EQ doesn't seem to have any negative sex effects. So it doesn't seem to inhibit erections or sex drive. It makes you insanely hungry, and it gives you a good pump. So a lot of people like EQ better. I think I might grow better on EQ. I could use a little bit more than DECA without having to worry about any side effects. But I think they're comparable. As far as bloating and goes, and some people are more sensitive to one than the other. It's not like a definitive thing, because I think some people, produce more estrogen in response to each drug. Like I said, some people they cannot take any DECA. It just destroys their sex drive and they get really bloated. But I didn't have that experience myself. I find that I respond really well to DECA, almost too well to DECA. Like I don't even have to take a lot of it, and I respond well. So sometimes less is better. I think that people get carried away with today's dosages that they have to take a lot of gear. And the truth is that if you're on 1,000 milligrams a week of testosterone, which is going to give you your base and pretty much build the mat, that's kind of the muscle building amount of the drugs you're going to take. And then you add a little bit of DECA or a little bit of EQ, it goes a long way. Back in the day, we only took 300 milligrams a week of EQ. No one took more than that because there was only 50 milligrams per ml. So we would take 2 mLs every other day or something like that. And that was only 300 a week. Same thing with DECA. We took 400 milligrams of DECA a week. No one thought to take more than that. Nowadays, guys are taking 900 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams of DECA a week. Of course, you're going to get more side effects and you get more bloating from that. Go lower on your anabolics and higher on your testosterone. You're going to get better results and you're going to have less side effects. I can promise you that.
A question about traveling as a bodybuilder. What's one supplement or item you cannot forget to bring when traveling as a bodybuilder? And it doesn't specify if you're traveling for a show or just in prep, but you, in your career, what was something you had to bring when traveling?
I'll tell you one thing. If you're traveling for a show, which a lot of times most bodybuilders are, very few bodybuilders are traveling just because they have to travel with. If you're going for a show, take your posing trunks that you have and bring them in your carry-on bag. Because anything else you can lose. It doesn't matter. If you because you're going to check luggage in, ultimately. You might have your anabolics in there and stuff like that, food in there. You can give up anything. You cannot not have your trunks. Always bring your posing trunks with you on the plane, even if they stick them in your coat pocket. That's something you never want to not travel with. Because I've seen guys, luggage lost, and then they don't have any trunks to wear, and they got to try to borrow some from someone else. They don't fit right. Always bring your posing trunks. And as a woman, always bring your posing suit with you on your person. Bring it on the plane with you. Obviously, bringing food with you too, so you can get. And I can't look. I got delayed this past time going to Mexico, and I think it was like it took me an extra 6 hours to get there or something like that. I bring emergency food now with me. Like I always pack more meals than I need. People are like, what do you have 3 meals with you for? Because I'm like, because when you get delayed, you have food to eat. And I got delayed on the airplane. The thing was sitting on the runway for like 3 hours no one wanted to get off because they were afraid. They said, if you get off, you may never take off today. You may never get to the connecting area. So I stayed on the plane. People were starving. They were like begging for pretzel bags. I had 3 food meals with me. So bring your food, bring your posing trunks.
Oh, good question about Greg Kovacs. It's from Tony Wynn. I was watching the latest episode of the Think Big Bodybuilding podcast. It was about Greg Kovacs, one strong monster. You were good friends, and did you train at all with him? If so, what was that experience like?
Maybe you could pull a picture up of him, Sid.
Yeah.
Greg was, and I did train with him. I stayed with him a lot of times up in Canada with him and his wife, and they were very gracious and great hosts. And I know Nasser got caught up there also. Nasser's had a passport issue. He got stuck there for like a couple of weeks up there. But I was up there with Greg, and I went to the gym. And, it's funny because, Greg liked to train on like Smith machine. He liked to do like shoulder presses on the Smith machine and bench. And you'd be like, this guy, he's not training with free weights. That's not a real exercise. I'm telling you, the guy lifted so much weight on that Smith machine. I don't even know how the Smith machine held the weight he was lifting. He was bench pressing like 700 pounds on the Smith machine. Now, granted, it's easier. It's definitely easier because you don't have to stabilize, but that's a lot of weight to push. And he was doing good form, controlling the weight. And, he was very strong in the gym. He was like almost like he had that like retard strength, like just unfathomable strength in the gym and in most movements too. And a lot of times he had to lighten the weight up purposely because, he wasn't working the right muscle because he was that strong. So he trained hard. Greg liked, he would go back to the gym twice too. He loved the whole process of bodybuilding the eating. I mean, I've never seen anyone eat more. His wife would have meals prepped. It was like on clockwork. If he's eating every 2 hours, if we would wake up at 10 in the morning, there'd be breakfast there. 12 o'clock, there would be a shake waiting for us. 1 o'clock after that, we would have another meal waiting for us. It was like all day long. It was like eight meals a day or something like that he was doing and shakes. And he had the time to go to the gym, and everything was scheduled with him, which was great because if you go hang out with someone, it's nice when they're just as disciplined as you are. And because he loved bodybuilding, and he would sit around and watch bodybuilding videos, and we would talk and shoot the shit. So, but yeah, he trained hard at the gym. There's not many people that train harder than him because he loved going to the gym. And I think that when you have a love for what you do, you give 100%. And obviously, he was enormous. There was no way he was building that much muscle. He was over 400 pounds, and he was pretty solid. So you don't build that kind of muscle lifting light weights.
Paulie 3219, your thoughts on using wrist straps when doing back exercises?
Absolute necessity. 100. You have to use straps. I actually use like the grippers. They kind of Velcro around your wrist, and they have a little flap. I actually have my own brand of them called the Jumbo Palumbo grippers, and you can get them at davepalumbo.com. They're like Versa grippers almost. They're like a knockoff of them. But I like them better because I like the way the Velcro covers my wrist. I had them specifically made for myself, and then people were asking me about them, so I made them. They say Jumbo Palumbo on the top, and they're very popular. The problem with training back is that you're always limited by the weak link, your forearms. So anytime you're pulling, your hand grip holding onto that bar is going to give out before your back does. So even Ronnie Coleman always used straps or grippers. He never trained. And Ronnie was about the strongest guy he could hang up because he knew that his back, his forearms and his arms, even though they were enormous, were his weak link. Not to mention that if he used if he didn't use grippers, he would actually use his arms too much, and it would take away from his back. So you want to be able to almost take your hands off the bar and just have, just be holding the grippers by your fingers and pull from your back. And it really helps target that back and ensure that you're getting the maximum workout for your back. There's I was rowing the 105 dumbbells today, which is the heaviest I've gone since I've had my shoulder replacements done. And there's no way I could do those just holding onto the dumbbell because my hand would give out after about 3 or 4 reps. But with the straps on, I was doing 8 reps with it, and so you're getting more reps out of it with good form. So you're going to develop the muscle much better that way. It's every back exercise you should use straps on.
We got a couple of good ones here. Are there any good site enhancement oils out there that are as good as painless pumps in your experience?
To me, the original Chris Clark pump and pose, synthesized pump and pose, that was the best one. The painless pumps that Steve DeLuca made, that unfortunately both him and Chris are passed, are the painless pumps was a good product too, and people liked it maybe better because it didn't leave you sore after. He had some sort of an electrolyte solution in there that kind of counteracted the dehydration that can cause that when you put oil into a muscle, the muscle releases a lot of enzymes to digest the oil, and it can dehydrate the muscle, and that's what causes the pain, believe it or not, because it causes a prostaglandin reaction. You could counteract that with taking like 2 Tylenol. You never want to take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen because that'll inhibit inflammation. We don't want to do that. But I used to take Tylenol to just take away the pain. But the painless pumps had an electrolyte solution that kind of counteracted that. There's no painless pumps anymore. There's some fake knockoffs out there, but they're not as good. Armand DB actually has a product on his website that's not too bad. That works pretty well, and you can check it out at his armanddb.com. Believe it or not, the people who took over Chris Clark's product in Germany contacted me recently. They have a new version of his product out there. I don't know where it's available. I won't be selling it probably just because I don't want to get involved with it, but I'm going to try to make it, find someone who can make it available here in the United States for people because it is a really good product. And his formula was the best one of them all. He invented the product after all. So everything else after Chris's was really a knockoff of Chris's product. And if it's used correctly, it looks good. If it's not used correctly, it looks terrible. it's an artistic thing. You can shoot, like Greg Valentino used to put test propionate into his arms, and everyone thought he was using synthol, but no, it's because it was an oil. We injected a lot in there. So, but he overdid it by his own admission, and so it didn't look good. But most people still inject their body parts, including arms. They're just using, whether they're using test propionate, or they're using test enanthate, or they're using EQ, or they're using one of the site enhancement oils out there. The advantage of using a site enhancement oil is that you're not putting a ton of drugs into your body. So in other words, if you're using testosterone and you're injecting 3 cc's into each head of your bicep, that's a lot of testosterone. You're going to OD on the testosterone. So it's better to put something that has no drug in there, so you don't have to worry about, having too much drug in your system and having side effects from it.
Take one last question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take one last question. Wrap this one up. Thick Pick recently tore my tricep, and I guess he's very frustrated. Small arms forever? ? Is my bodybuilding career finished? How do you bounce back from a torn tricep?
Well, first of all, you have to get surgery and get it fixed by a good doctor who's worked on athletes and understands that there's a cosmetic component to this repair. Okay, not just we're fixing it to fix it. We're fixing it because it needs to look good because I'm a bodybuilder. You have to impart that to the surgeon, and if the surgeon gives you, flack and doesn't seem to be on board with what you're telling him, then you got to find another surgeon. Okay, will it ever be the same as the normal tricep or look like the original? No. When you tear a muscle, these surgeons will tell you, I'm reattaching it to a site that is not the same as the original site where it came from. So it will never look normal, okay? But it could look good. I mean, I've seen a lot of good repairs, biceps, triceps, pecs, and I've seen a lot of bad ones. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad ones out there, and we know those people who've had the bad ones done. So you got to research it, but you got to get it surgically fixed. Once you get it surgically fixed and you follow the protocol of the doctor, and if you want to use BPC 157, you want to use GH, you want to use DECA, you want to use Arthrolyze, if you want to use all these things to help heal the injury, that's something you should definitely do. There's no doubt about that. Okay, but the key component to getting success long term would be to get the thing repaired properly initially. If you leave it, okay, it's never going to look normal. You're going to be mad that you never got it fixed. You got to get it fixed. No one wants to go through the surgery. No one wants to do the rehab. No one wants to take the time off from the gym. I understand that, but shit happens. It's happened. I tore my quad on a staircase. Branch Warren slipped on the ice. Evan Centopani was walking down his flight of stairs in his basement. People, they get injured. It happens. We all get injured. It's how you recover and how you get through the adversity that really defines you as a person. Dorian tore a lot of muscles, and he was Mr. Olympia for 6 years. So, he did it. If he can do it, you can do it. It's just you have to have the mental fortitude and the willpower to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to surrender right now. I have no control of what's going on. Let me get it fixed. That's the main goal. And then I'll come back and I'm going to make a comeback. And that's how we overcome any obstacle in life. You have to have a plan. You have to execute it with precision and not worry about what other people are saying or what you're thinking in your mind, and come back from it better than you were before. Okay.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder on the channel right now, all new episodes of the After Hours podcast and Sunday night's episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, as well as this week we're going to be putting up more content from Dave and Armand's trip to Mexico. Some of the videos that we've been teasing as far as, their trip to the pharmacy. I don't need to say any bit more, but that somebody literally bringing you raw materials to their hotel room. We're going to have all that stuff uploaded piecemeal over the course of the next few days. And then, of course, this weekend, the Dubai Pro will have fresh content from their interviews, then, of course, show coverage. So keep it locked. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button below. Comment below. That helps, and we appreciate all of your support. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.